So it normally takes a second for us to really be live. So that's why I normally talk for 10 seconds something. It's so great to have you here with us. So welcome everybody. You're either watching or listening to the LinkedIn Live from Lean 42. It's kind of like leading up to our Lean Leader Summit, which is in July, 2nd and 3rd July in Munich, a big event with 150 CIOs, digital leaders, lean leaders, head of enterprise architect, head of strategy, different kind of like people to network, different perspectives to learn. And one of our very great speakers is Bea. Bea is joining me here today. So welcome, Bea, and thank you for being with us today, but also thank you for being with us at the Lean Leader Summit.
Thank you, Kaza, for having me.
Excellent. And Bea is the Director of Global Digitalization at BayWa. And can you give us kind of like, or the audience, a little bit insight about kind of like yourself and some words to what you do? What does global digitalization mean?
Sure, I can. So as you correctly said, Director Global Digitalization for BayWa. So maybe a few words personally, living in Munich. So the event is fantastic for me, being next to my door. Yeah, loving outdoor sports. So everything that's outdoor is fantastic. And professionally, I'm leading a department that does everything from the business idea to process transformation, enterprise architecture, the selection and implementation of cloud-based solutions, and also data and analytics. So the full stream from the idea to the go live. And yeah, I think that the most important thing for me is always that we are dealing with humans, we are dealing with colleagues, with employees. So that is definitely that what is driving me, being curious, being interested in who we are working with, and also always driven by continuous improvement. So I think my colleagues pretty much accept that I'm always looking for where can we do it better, where can we do more and faster and more motivated. My family sometimes does not like it too much, but the professional colleagues do.
But it's something that I think a lot of people, or also me, I love about you, Bea, is that your passion, but also your drive that you bring to all your interactions, and that's why we also have you here, because you have this extra drive, and I think it's an important part for success and driving also business value. So driving business value, that's also one of kind of like the themes of your talk at the Lean Leader Summit. I think when we met the other day and like talked about it, like your focus on digital consulting and standing up a whole practice within an organization, kind of like from ground up. Can you tell us a little bit about what was kind of like a driver for you to get this practice started, and what's kind of like a key factor in success for it?
Sure. So I was originally hired by the CFO under the position of process and lean. That was what we finally came up with as a title, and it was just me starting in a 500 people organization, not even having a process for invoice approval. So somebody signed the invoice somehow, and this is how I started. And they asked me to improve their processes, or at least already start with some process work. And it took about half a year or a year when I said, okay, guys, you have more or less no digital landscape. So it was the Microsoft suite, that was it. They did not even have an HR system. So having 600-700 people and having no HR system. So they had no idea. If somebody asked how many controllers do we have in North America, then we started calling. Yeah. So, and this is where I said I had a big discussion with the CFO and the rest of the board and said we need to create a digital ecosystem. So we need somewhere. Of course, there were some applications in the finance area, but that was it. And this is how it all started. So with starting from process management, it was pretty quick that I made my way into the digital area, building up that digital department. Grown up to, I think the maximum were about 50 colleagues that we had in that department, and really serving the whole group. So what drove me a lot was that whenever I discussed with my business colleagues, they said digitalization and especially selection implementation of software, that's not our core business. Yeah, so they were fantastic in all the project development stuff, in developing and operating solar and wind parks, but digitalization and software and IT was not their business. And this is why I said, okay, let's build up an internal consulting department helping you with that. Of course, you can always go outside and ask one of the big consulting companies, also maybe a smaller one, to support you. First, you need to train them who you are, what's important for you, what you have, what you don't have, what's the interconnection with the IT department, and so on. But coming to us internally meant it's all there. We know the company, we know the people, we know the director of IT. We already know these basics and we can start right away. And that was also one of the success factors, I think, is that I always said the consultants and the project managers in my area, they already know and they can start quicker. And also in the course of the project life cycle, they maybe do less mistakes because they don't have too many assumptions what would be there and maybe is not. Of course, one exception case, sometimes of course we need experts. Yeah, if it's a very special area with special software, then of course we need experts and we get them from outside.
Excellent. So I think it's something that is very great in solving kind of like something for organizations. Did you take on kind of like inspiration from other organizations and how they set up something similar, or was it kind of like really finding the right space within your current organization and making sure how it fits in there? So what was kind of like more external, looking at how others did it, or was it purely kind of like probably, or it might have been a mix, but what did you draw on?
Of course, it was not all self-developed. I always love to say built on the ideas of others. So before my current position, I spent 7 years at SAP in Waldorf, and the last position there in Waldorf was a similar position. So it was internal consulting for process optimization, efficiency, KPI management, and so on. And I was very inspired by the person who led that department and how he built up that department. Not only that, he said, you're all internal consultants, you need to be competitive, and there need to be a reason why the internal colleagues, the other departments choose you instead of somebody external, or they do it themselves or whatever. So let's say the basic concept, definitely I copied. Yeah, and then the interesting part for me was to adapt it to a very different organizational, different branch, different size. Of course, also in the former position, I had 60 colleagues. Yeah, and now it was just me when it started. And of course, it, as I said, it pretty quickly grew, but changing from a consulting position into the manager position, changing from a big corporation to a very small company, that was a fantastic opportunity to adapt the concept. Of course, there were always these little points where I said, I don't like it, I don't buy it. Yeah, and this is where I could adapt it, and that was fantastic. And of
Great.
course, it was not only me bringing all that in. I hired fantastic people. All of them came from different organizations, and I tried to hire senior people. Yeah, so they already saw in their former companies how something was built and also what they did not like about it, and they wanted to do it better. So that was the one inspiration, definitely all the colleagues that I hired. And what I can definitely always recommend is external feedback and input. I just came back from another event in Berlin, and honestly, 1.5 or almost 2 days of pure inspiration. You bring back so much from these kind of events that it's definitely worth it.
Excellent. Speaking of events, so you will be at the speaker at the Lean Leader Summit in Munich, 2nd and 3rd of July. If, like, for the audience, you haven't signed up yet, go to leanleadersummit.com to sign up for it, and you can see Bea live on stage. You mentioned already, Bea, the benefits of some of the, like, going to event exchange and kind of like putting your own ideas out, but also getting kind of like input or feedback on like what others are doing. What is kind of like some of the key aspects that you look for when you kind of like go to events, and what can you tell others, why should they come to a conference like ours, but also others? What's kind of like in it for them?
So I would want to differentiate between live events in person and virtual events. Virtual events are great as well. So sometimes I also cannot make it to wherever it's gonna be, yeah, because of personal reasons or whatever it is. Then a virtual event is good, yeah. But honestly, I prefer the in-person events. So I really like to be on site, of course on stage, but as well in the audience, and do these discussions afterwards. Yeah, using the time in between the presentations, these we always call it networking times. Yeah, but these coffee sessions. Yeah, that we really say, okay, this is you talked about this and that. Can we continue it? And so what I do usually is I really take notes at the agenda. So I don't mean I'm taking notes during the presentations, but I take notes with that person. I want to talk about this and that. What I also do is that if not possible, I follow up with LinkedIn or another channel, but LinkedIn is mostly the easiest one, and say, hey, it was a great presentation. We had no chance to talk afterwards. Can we continue somehow? This is also sometimes really worth it if a presentation cannot stay the whole day or so, but really be brave enough and follow up after it, even if you couldn't meet that person during the event.
I think it's great to prepare before events and really take the most out of it when you kind of like know, hey, I might already come to a talk with a question or with something that I want to kind of like get out of for my own practice and learn. But of course, also be open-minded, and you might run into people, and you might change your selection of talks based on kind of like who you talk to and who you had interactions with. So I think there is always that dynamic component to those events as well.
And sometimes you're surprised. Sometimes in both ways. Sometimes you say that this presentation I really need to see. I need to see that person. Later on you say, okay. And it's definitely also the other way around, where you say, okay, I have no connection to that branch or whatever, or the title does not sound too interesting, but finally you find out that it was really worth it and it was a really interesting person.
Excellent. What is it that you like? Well, why should people come to your session at the conference? What is kind of like the key nugget that they will learn, and why they really have to come and get to see you on stage?
That's a good question. As I said, first I would take you on a journey, but honestly, so from that, how it started and how it what was the peak finally. But that's just another story of a digital journey. I think the interesting part, hopefully for the colleagues, are I'm going to talk about the success factors, but I'll also talk about the fails. So I think that is, of course, you can always celebrate your successes, and it's important, especially also for the colleagues. But I'm very interested to also talk about the fails. What did not work? Why did we do it the way we did? Yeah. What did we learn? And also, honestly, what I'm very curious about is to get in touch with the colleagues and say, okay, this was my way, but what would have been your way? What are the other options that we could have done, and what I can learn out of it?
Cool. So I will make sure that somebody will be in your session that has something to contribute as well, because I think it's this. I love kind of like the aspect, and that's something that we always try to foster as well. The mutual learning. So it's not just as a speaker you're there and kind of like give out nuggets and learnings, but it's also something you take something back for your own, because the way people ask questions, or the way people also contribute to what you just presented, and kind of like says, okay, have you tried this? Or and I love how you also will talk about some failures and things that didn't go well. And it's something where I think sharing is caring, and we should not only share what went well and what we kind of like had successes in, but also always share what didn't work and what learnings did we do out of it. And I think this learning opportunities that we kind of like all did over our careers or in different projects is something that we should like share way more often than we focus so much on kind of like successes, but very often the learning happens the most in the failures.
Exactly. So usually, when you ask people what was your biggest learning, then my experience is mostly they talk about a critical situation, a failure, or something that really touched their hearts. Yeah. So
Huh.
I'm looking forward to the event, definitely.
Me too. So just checking briefly. I think there are no questions. If you do have questions after, you might. It's a Friday, so right before the weekend. So of course you might watch this after it's been live over the weekend or next week. You can still ask questions and put kind of like comments in here in LinkedIn. Bea and I will monitor and get back to you. So even if we didn't manage to do it interactively today, we will interact with you and make sure you get your questions answered. And if you do have questions and are looking for more learning, come to the Lean Leader Summit. It's something that we would love more people to join us. We already got 100 plus people coming, so we aim for 150. So it might be sold out at one point. So better get your ticket now. And then I'm excited to see you, Bea, in a couple months in Munich for our conference.
Thank you, Carsten.
And thank you so much for joining us today. And you all have a happy and very great Friday. Thank you.
Enjoy